Okay, is everybody there? Hear me okay? All right. Um, just give me a second here to make sure this is stable. Okay, so sorry about that. The power went out, and then my router went out, and then everything died on my phone. So we have some storms and stuff rolling through, and my cellular signal in Zoom was not letting me reconnect yet. Okay, I think that's everybody coming back in. All right. So I was talking about the dragons coming out and coming out of the monuments, and they were, where were we at? Yeah. They were like setting off a warning and being like, hey, something's wrong, something's incoming. There's a storm coming in from the south. I believe it was the south. And I was kind of freaking out because I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I've never been in a situation where there are beings of this nature who are stressed out essentially and like I'm not sure how to react, what to do, that type of thing. They go, it's okay, just calm down, stay there. And they kind of like bellow and start bellowing into the air, and you see this energy lifting up into the air, and this energetic dome goes around the whole valley. And when I say the whole valley, I'm talking you enter the road to go into this valley, and it takes you at least 40 minutes to drive through it to the other side. It's enormous. It's you can get on top of like of the cliffs and look down over it, and I can't describe just how enormous this place is. All of these dragons are bellowing, and this energy is going up and creating this dome. And as that storm comes in, there were beings in the storm that were not of the highest vibration, and you just see them hit that energy field and kind of flow over it. And what they were doing was protecting the valley from whatever energy this storm was bringing in. So it was a very fascinating encounter, and one of those ones where it was like, okay, they really do protect us, and they really do work with us to protect the land, to protect their space, and to help us as well. And to see it firsthand in that space with dragons that weren't like assigned to me as guides or anything of that nature. Okay, where else do we have to go to here? So that was a really interesting experience. And then this year I met a joy dragon through Spirit Art. I've met a lot of different dragons with clients. I've met luck dragons. I've met elemental dragons, protective dragons, all these different things, all these different energies who have different purposes to be around us. I was working on a vision board, and part of working on the vision board, I was drawing out different things. I was like, you know what? I want more joy in my life. Are you doing okay, Bree? Okay. I keep
I'm,
seeing you.
I know, I'm fine. I'm just like, it's a lot of energy and like I'm like burping nonstop, but I'm so fine. It's okay.
Okay. I keep seeing you do this, and I'm like, I just want to make sure you're okay.
I know. I just have to like help the energy get out. It's okay.
Okay, you're fine.
Thank you.
Um, so I see this, or I'm building this vision board, and I'm drawing different index cards, and I'm putting my intentions into the index cards. I'm like, I want more joy in my life, so I'm gonna focus on joy this year. What makes me happy? What brings me more joy? The past several years of my life hadn't been full of a lot of joy in that, and I wanted to attract more of it. And I start drawing, and I'm kind of just intuitively scribbling, and I put like I am joy on this card and scribble this image. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that looks like a dragon. And I'm going, did I just draw a new dragon? And immediately I hear, yep. And off to the side of my energy, I feel this very small, maybe only a foot long, this dragon that comes in, and it's white. It's got almost like fur instead of scales. and some blue tips, big ear, really, really big ears, like Dumbo type ears. And it is the happiest dragon I have ever met, the most joyful dragon I have ever met from an energetic standpoint, and goofy as all hell. Always trying to make me laugh whenever I see it. So I see this dragon and I'm like, oh man, I've got another one. And I start working with him, and his name's Champion. If you saw the image on Instagram, it's a really goofy looking image. But I start working with him, and as I'm working with him, he really is bringing more joy into my life. And in moments where I'm not joyful, I'll see him in my mind pop up and just making faces or doing these different things to make me laugh, to bring me more joy. So these dragons have different aspects. Some of them have aspects of like luck. I had a client one time who had a luck dragon come to them to bring them luck. There's joy dragons, there's protection, there's growth, there's all these different things. And then as I'm doing this work, I'm drawing these different dragons every once in a while. And I draw a dragon for a client that I end up feeling this dragon. It's a big white dragon, if I remember right. And it was a sky one. It was one that flew through the skies, more serpentine. And I'm working with it. At the time, I'm drawing the pictures. And after I draw the pictures, I walk from my table where I draw to my computer, and I sit down at my computer and I type the channel message and put it on my website for the client to access. And as I'm sitting there, the energy shifts in my office. And I'm talking like it gets really high and intense. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a flash of light. And there's a man in a white robe, or maybe more of like a tunic might be a more appropriate word. Long, like very hairy, long beard, very wise looking, like this human figure manifests and just kind of looks at me and is like, hi, and then walks out of my office into my living room and stuff to look in my living room. And I'm going, what the heck is that? What happened? Here, the dragon had brought itself down, brought its density down, and manifested into a human form, and then walked into my living room just to look around. It was a shocking experience because I knew beings from working, specifically from working with my gargoyle friend. I knew some of them could shift their density and come into our world and like walk around, and almost, we can see them clearly from the corners of our eyes. But then that thing happens with our brain that as soon as they walk out of it, they disappear, but you can still feel them and see them energetically with your mind's eye, third eye type of thing. It was astonishing. It was like, okay, so these beings can shift into our world. They're not just in their world too. And then one of the last one, or two of the last ones here I want to talk about, Castle Grayskull was very interesting. Castle Grayskull is a space in New Mexico. And for those of you who know the name Grayskull, that is from the He-Man cartoons. It's not actually Castle Grayskull. It's just a place in the desert where I was out camping in the desert and I wanted to meet a new dragon. And I did not realize, I had been to this space before, but did not realize there was a dragon there. The energy of the earth, as we know, is raising every day. And every day it rises, the closer it gets in vibration to allowing other beings that match that vibration to enter our world and to basically escape their chains, the ways they've been locked up energetically. They'll be free to go about. And so I'm in this desert and it's flat. There's nothing there. There's dunes in this area. But for the most part, it's this like really flat space you can walk around and kind of get lost in. And my guides go, okay, we want you to take a hike and we want you to walk to the other side of the valley. I go, okay. So I grab my pack. I walk to the other side of the valley where these dunes are. I start walking the tops of them. I get to the end and I'm like, well, where do I go now? And when I'm out there, I intuitively let my guides tell me where to go. If I just kind of stumble around, I don't usually find stuff, but if I ask my guides to guide me, to tell me where to go, they bring me right to different beings, to cool structures, to, experiences, animals, all this stuff. So I asked them, okay, I walked across this valley in blazing heat in the summer type of thing, and I'm on this dune. Where to next? Go back across the valley. I'm like, I just walked across the valley. If you wanted me back there, I didn't need to be over here. And they go, no, just start walking. You needed to be over here. So I start walking, and I see in the distance as I'm walking, they're going, go to those gray rocks over there. There's a dragon there. And I'm like, there's a dragon there? Why would there be a dragon out here? Like, why? And they go to these gray rocks. And as I'm walking, I start to realize the rocks actually look like a dragon from the angle I'm walking in. Like they look like there's a dragon buried under this this sand and sandstone dunes and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. And one of my guides jokingly says, yeah, we're taking you to Castle Grayskull, and starts laughing about it because that's the cartoon He-Man cartoon. There's a castle in it, Castle Grayskull. And I believe at the time I had been rewatching some of the He-Man stuff. And so they're laughing and making jokes about like, yeah, we made you come across, but it was for the betterment, because if I had gone straight there, I would have never seen the shape of this land. So I go there and I start feeling it, and I can feel and hear. I'm very clairaudient, so I can hear this like slight snoring sound, like you would hear in a fantasy movie of a beast or a dragon sleeping under the rocks. And so I start climbing, and this is very dangerous stuff to climb. These dunes are made of crushed sandstone that is turning into sand, and there are giant boulders in different places, so you can actually step on the sand, and there can be a hole underneath that your weight can drop through, and you can fall through it. So I'm trying to be very careful, and they're guiding me, and they're like, go to get to the top, go this route. And I go, no, I need to give me the safest route. Like I can't climb that. That's way too risky type of thing. So they finally get me to the top of this spot where it's kind of on what you might call like the skull of this space. And I sit down and I meditate, kind of, and not like a true deep meditation, but just sitting on the rock, breathing and focusing my mind. And I can feel there's this, gold, orange, shimmering dragon energy underneath, kind of asleep, but it feels me there, and it opens an eye and it wakes up, and I'm like, what? Why are you here? Like it can feel me, and it's this very sleepy voice that comes through, tired and very like if you woke somebody up in the middle of their sleep, they just wouldn't be able to respond very quickly. And he starts talking to me, and he starts telling me, he's like, he's trapped there. And I go, okay, well, can we help you? Can we get you out? Is it, what do you need? I can feel that, most dragons for the most part are kind of neutral. They make their choices to be benevolent, and it's more that they choose who they befriend type of thing. They might not necessarily help everyone, but they choose who they work with. And he goes, no, you don't need to help me. I'm going to be free soon. He's waiting for the vibration of the earth to rise. And once the vibration of the ground rises, not just like the space we're in, but the actual ground, he'll be able to essentially wake up and leave that space that he's in. And so that was an interesting wake-up call too, to realize. That's when I started realizing that there are a lot of these energies that were on Earth in different times, and in different ways they got trapped energetically in these spaces, and so they're sleeping. And it's not just dragons, it's other beings. Since that time, that was kind of like my guide's way of introducing me to this idea. And then over time, they started sharing more, like gargoyles and other types of beings that are kind of energetically trapped in these spaces. And as the Earth's vibration rises, more and more of them come out and get to interact with humans, as well as those coming in from portals that are opening to their realms because of that vibrational shift. Some of those shifts are opening portals where you can just kind of feel dragon energies flooding into the earth to these areas. One of the last things I wanted to share from the experiences part is the Council of Dragons. Well, there's two more. So not all dragons some of them are very intimidating looking, but if you do meet a dragon, feel it with your heart space, feel the energy of it with your heart space, and feel the intention of its words and all that sort of thing. I once met one at my parents', and he came in and he was black smoke, intimidating, dark energy. And I don't mean dark and evil, just very dark, polarity of energy type of thing. And he starts sucking up all the negative energy from my parents' house. And I've never seen one like this. And I'm going, okay, what's going on? What is this? What is this dragon? This is intense. I learned later he was a type of dragon that consumes negative energy to clear the areas. But in consuming the negative energy, they take on this very intimidating aspect and look to them, because that's what they're feeding on, that negative energy to clear the earth of it. But it's like it also feeds into what their physical manifestational look appears as. So they get very intimidating, but not all dragons that are intimidating are necessarily malevolent or anything like that. And then the last one was about the Council of Dragons. So I never knew, I've known there were councils of dragons. There are just the same way right now, we're all ascending. We're all vibrationally ascending, but some people on Earth are very, very low vibrational. Some people are very, very high vibrational. And it doesn't equate, intention of good or bad. It's just their spiritual vibration is very different. It's the same thing with dragons. Some dragons are lower and some dragons are higher. And the councils are very, very high. When I work with angels, the way I describe it is I have kind of a dial that tells me where their vibration's at. When I work with angels are straight up way, way, way up high for me when they come through. The Council of Dragons I met yesterday, they came through and talked to me because of this workshop and a couple other things. And they were way up there. They were like angelic level vibrations. And they were just talking about us being gatekeepers that as you start working in these realms with these beings, remember that you're responsible for protecting your own energy. And I'll put a link to, I have a free Build Your Fortress course on my website that I'll link in the workshop notes. But you're responsible for protecting your own energy. But what a lot of people forget, and I also didn't realize the last time, is one, we are responsible too for any humans if we're working with dragons or fairies or any of those, and we bring a human in to experience them, we're responsible for the humans that experience them, because we're bringing those humans to them. At the same time, I never thought about this. We're working with these beings, and some of them, even though we are in different realms and vibrations, some of them are not as adept at spiritual capabilities. They're in different, I guess you call them conscious dimensions, I believe is what a lot of people call them. They're in different conscious dimensions. And so when we bring a human to, say, a dragon or a fairy or a gnome, we're also responsible for the safety of the dragon, fairy, or gnome if a human that we bring is not of the best intent for them. There are humans that do not align with these beings. So as you're doing this work and you're exploring different realms and different beings, just remember we're responsible for protecting both sides, ourselves and the humans and them as well, and who interacts with who. I'm going to stop there with the experiences and just say two things here before we open it up to questions. I do have a list of, I went through and I just did like a really quick mini reading to see if anybody had dragons around them. All of you do. And I'll describe those in a moment after we do the questions. And then shoot, there was something else I was going to say. List of questions, and it'll come back to me. So I'll get to those mini readings in a second. But do any of you have any questions right now about dragons, about working with them, any of that type of thing? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Nobody? Did I do that good of a job? Okay. So, well, if anything comes up, just let me know as we're going through this. Is everybody okay with me reading this for as far as like you have a dragon, the size, the color, purpose, that type of thing? Okay. So I'm just going to go down this list here. So I don't see the name Shannon, but I'm hoping you're the iPhone name. So Shannon, if you're here, there's a light green earth dragon that said they're for natural living energy, about the size of a car when you see them, and the name was Salmon that they wanted to give. Now, what I'll also say is when it comes to the names that I give you, when you get to the other part of the workshop on the library where it has the meditations and stuff, you may find they give you other names. The names are just names, labels for us to describe them. Oftentimes they give me a word to be like, yep, just let them call me this for now. If they decide to give you another name, that's perfectly fine. So Carly, if you're on here, you had a red energy protective dragon, elemental dragon, very large. And the word they gave me was Sheemus, like Sheemus was the word they gave me for the name. Lori, you're on here. They said a blue water dragon for emotional healing. It's small. Small meaning like probably the size of I'm hearing the size of a cat type of thing. And the word they gave me for the name was Tiwada, Tiwada. Cindy here, yep. Cindy, red protective dragon of the sky, very large, flies around, and it gave me Seal, S-E-A-L as a name. Kristen, yep, she's on here. Kristen, you have a green healing dragon of the earth and protection. Mid-size is like, the feeling they always give me is like a car to the size of a one-story house type of thing. And the name it gave was Michael. And Rihanna, they said, this was different because I hadn't heard of this before. They said white elemental mother dragon for life creation. So there's something about that mother dragon part. The name they gave was Iris and said they were a giant serpentine dragon. And the giant ones are like, you have to see them to understand the size. I mean, when they say giant, to me, it's anything over the size of a building. And this one felt very, very big, kind of like a flying around the skies. Rebecca, you're on here. Green dragon of healing and growth of the forest, mid-size like a car, and the name it gave was Harness, Harness. Brianna. So you actually have many coming in, and Rebecca, you probably do too. Sebastian couldn't make it. I know he did. They're saying those two names. So Brianna and Rebecca, you two have actually a bunch of them through working with me before. They've been like watching you. Brianna, you had a blue ice dragon of the lake, and it was a resident. It felt very much like the other beings you have in that lake, like they're just residents there. Small to mid-size, you know, maybe bigger, smaller than a car or bigger than a dog type thing. Dior, Dior is the name it gave. Amber, you had a yellow walking dragon of the sands. And when I wrote that, I had a feeling of like desert. It said mid-size, like the size of a car, for growth. And its name was Trumpet that it gave me. Sebastian's not here, so I'll message him on that. Amanda is not here. Abby, I did not have you on my list. Did you sign up late?
Yeah, I literally signed up like 10 minutes before we started.
Because I saw your name pop in and I was like, is that Amanda? Or okay, let me just take a second here.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, you're the one. Okay. 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 So before, I was confused because before the session, they talked about a silver dragon elemental, that somebody was coming to the session. And now Sebastian, who was going to attend, had a silver dragon, but they were like, no, they're going to be in the session. And that was you. And that's very interesting timing. You have a silver dragon elemental of healing, growth, and strong positive attitude is what they were saying. And the image I was getting was like very like strong, almost to the point of giving attitude, but being positive at the same time. Mid to large, and you can name it whatever you want to name it. It kept going through names and then just all of a sudden settled on the word wake and was kind of like, you know, name it what you want type of thing. Any questions about that, Carl?
Yes. Besides amethyst being excellent crystals to work with, is there like a particular crystal that the dragons have in mind, like a specific one that they would want us to work with whenever we're visualizing them?
So this is going to be specific to your dragon. The energy they prefer is all specific to each of their own individual energies and own individual personalities, I guess that would be the thing to say. Or that's not the right word. What's the likes, like their own preference. That's the word. I was like, it's a P word. It's preference. Their own
Okay.
preference.
Yeah.
Now after this workshop, I'm gonna give everybody access to that library with all the extras that are in it. There is a channeled piece of artwork to help activate you, and there's instructions with it on how to use it, and a channeled message from the dragons. There is a meditation on how to meet a dragon, and that's part of why I wanted to do this mini reading, that when you do that meditation, you may find yourself meeting that specific dragon. In that space, that would be a good question, Carly, to ask them. Hey, like, what do you want me to do to acknowledge you, to show you gratitude? Remember, it's not about like worshiping them or anything. It's more about showing gratitude and just, giving an offering of some kind. And they'll tell you if it's crystals, if it's food, if it's these different things. I find usually it's crystals or like money. It's valuable things, things that have more value to them. But that was also before the floodgates opened and all these new dragon energies started coming in. The dragons I had been working with most of my years were very classical, more of a, I don't want to say necessarily greedy because that's not the right word. It's more that they just value the things that you value. So humans value money, and they're like, we'll take money as that energetic trade. So just ask them when you start connecting with them. And then, and I see Rebecca just said, wild, I just added money to my altar. Ask them and they'll tell you, they'll guide you. If it's a crystal, if it's a statue, if it's a whatever it is type of thing. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. So the dragon that you told me, do this dragon like wants to work with me, or have I worked with it before but not knowing, or do I need to do like an activation for it to work?
So these dragons are energies that are already around you, already poking in. They might not be fully like with you all the time. It might be more of a telepathic thing. But what I did is I asked my guides and my dragon guides, I was like, help me tap in and just see, is there a dragon that wants to work with them that is of the phrase I say is of the highest good, the highest benevolence, realms of light, golden light of source, operating with love and light, in benevolent purpose and intention, that will be willing to help activate and wake you to those worlds and kind of be like your dragon guide. Now, some of you have many dragons around you. So when you do the meditations, you may not see the one I describe. The idea is just to let you know there is one around you that you may end up encountering, and just to trust that if you do start feeling that type of energy as time goes on. Oftentimes with me, because I'm very visual, their image will pop in my mind and I'll just feel the energy and be like, what is that? And then I'll see the image and be like, oh, there's a dragon around. So if you start seeing images of a dragon in your mind, trust it. It's probably one trying to connect to you, especially if you're doing the activation and meditations in that library area. And then as far as activating goes, that's the idea of these workshops, listening to this content. You can always come back to it. I'm gonna post the recording on the library. So listening to this workshop helps activate. And then we've been designing these workshops with more detail to help give people multiple ways of activation, through the workshop, through attending that and just being in the energy of the storytelling as I talk. And then through the artwork and some channeled messaging in an actual meditation. And the actual meditation will really put you in touch with those that are around you as you work on that over time. Any other questions?
I do actually. While
Huh?
you were talking, I actually felt a really intense amount of, I almost felt like I was in a vortex while you were talking. And so I didn't know if it was you and the activation or it was the dragon, because I know you said my dragon that I have around is giant. So is it that energy or maybe
It,
both? I don't know.
it's both.
Okay.
Uh, so a lot of people like what the reason I checked on Bree, because I saw her like moving her chest. There's a lot of energy. Those who have worked with me before, when you talk to me, there's a lot of energy that comes through. And then when you're activating to these different beings, they even are more intense. So that's why some of you are feeling a lot of intensity. Uh, some of these dragons, they like Champion is such. I talk about him, but he's such a small dragon. Like it's like having a salamander in a terrarium. You just don't even feel it or notice it's there. But then some of these other dragons, you cannot like ignore their energy. They come in, it will vibrate you, it will shake you. Um, it will, like that crystal story where I talked, like the energy was vibrating my head and almost giving me a migraine. And that's just all about tuning. So over time, as you do the work, you'll tune to their energy and that will lessen. That experience, that physical experience will lessen. But even in the meditations and stuff, right now what we have is we have a physical encounter going on between me, you, and then the other energies that are around you and the guides that are all tapping in for us. When you go into meditation, there'll be much less energy around because some of you as empaths and other with other abilities, you're probably also we're kind of all in this together. We're all feeling each other's energy. So it's intensified even more because there's not just me working with one client. There's 10 of you on the call right now. So it's both. It's the activations and they show me like they're up in the sky kind of spinning energy for some reason. And it goes back to the activation type of stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Abby, did you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question. It was kind of just more of a comment. I joined so last minute. I literally like filled out all the information at 8:50, 10 minutes before you were starting the call. And I was putting it off for a couple of weeks because I had seen that you posted it a while ago. And my mom had done Reiki on me. My mom is a Reiki practitioner. She's a level 3. And she said when she had done Reiki on me, she saw a black dragon in my energy field. And then ever since then, she got me a gift for the holidays. And it was a little, have you seen How to Train Your Dragon? It was a
Yeah.
dragon. I have one of those on my totem. And so that's long story short, that's why I'm here right now. I was very compelled, and then I put it off until last minute. I was like, let me just bite the bullet and do it. And I'm so glad that I did. I really loved listening to your experiences and you explain everything. And now I guess I have another little silver dragon.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I was wondering, so I know I'm missing somebody along the line here. I'll have to go through that, but I appreciate you attending. And that's why I also posted that last minute too, like, hey, any last minute signups, let me know. I did not realize they kept saying like, there's going to be somebody with a silver dragon. Mm-hmm. And then the gentleman who I know through other workshops and stuff, he had to leave last minute. And I went, but he was the one with the silver dragon. And then you showed up. And what they're saying now is you already know about the black one, so they're telling you about another one that's around you as well. That was kind of the idea. I wanted to introduce people to at least one dragon being around you. Just having this call with me, I have tons of dragon energies that I interact with, and you'll probably find that as you start working with them, it's like a network. Like you have your dragon, they network with people. You're on the call with me, so there's my dragons behind me, which are a large network. And then they all talk. They will send you my way to get activated. And then like a dragon that maybe I've met through somebody else will telepathically be told, hey, this person needs healing help, and they'll end up over there. And it's like a game of musical chairs of helping people. You know, they work to find the people that they can help, and that's why we have so many of them. And then over time, the goal too is that if you're one of those people who wants friendships with them, you can build friendships with them, kind of like the ones I had in Utah, where when I go to Utah, I know they're there. They don't work with me in a capacity from afar of healing or protection or anything. It's just, I know when I go to Utah, I get to see my dragon friends. So as you explore the world too, you might run into that where you are walking through the woods and you stumble across a dragon, and it's not someone that you work with, you know, on an individual basis for any purpose other than just to go out into the woods and sit beside and talk to a dragon. Just like, you know, How to Train Your Dragon, he finds Toothless randomly in the woods. It's funny you mentioned that too, because I watched that 3 days ago. So it's a great movie. If none of you have seen that movie, that is a great movie.
No, actually, and another thing too, just to add on to that, I freaking grew up. I don't know if you've ever played any of the Elder Scrolls games.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Skyrim, that was one of my freaking my favorite video games ever growing up, and it's just all that mythology, the dragons, and I've always loved it so much. So I was like, gotta be here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for all of you. And that's that intuitive nudge. You know, when you have those intuitive nudges, trust them. That's how I found them in Utah and all New Mexico. I followed the guide saying, go here, go there. And then when I did, that's when I found them all. Anybody else have questions, comments, anything?
Hi, thank you so much.
Hi, Amber.
I just wanted to ask if you could share more about the walking dragon of the sand.
So the feeling, they just said they were there for growth, some like spiritual growth. Spiritual growth. In the walking of the sand, so there's different layers of our reality. And they're bringing this into my mind. So I once experienced this really like mind-blowing thing where I was sitting on a balcony in my old apartment, looking over Lancaster, PA. And that area is flat. There's trees, but it's mostly farmland, pretty flat. And the scenery changed in front of me. And I could see a desert there and a city in the distance. The feeling I'm getting is it's something like that, where this dragon walks and lives in an area of existence that is a desert in sand. It's not from a literal desert, like from not literal desert in the sense of on our plane, but like a dragon of the sands in that plane, and possibly even I'm seeing like sand swirl around them. Like they work with sand, and they're even saying beach sand for some reason. So if you have beaches near you or something, it might be, if you have a possibility of going to a beach, it might be a good way to work with them. But they're there for spiritual growth, to help. Oh, did we lose somebody? Might have lost somebody. Oh no, Rose. Okay. They're here for spiritual growth to help you on your journey. That's it. The messaging I got with everybody was very vague, just because of the mini reading style. When you do go to the meditation and do that, there's a space in there where I'm walking you through, and I say, okay, set an intention, and I say the words of what intention to set. before the meditation also, like for you, Amber, for instance, you can set the intention of saying, I would like to meet this dragon, this yellow dragon of the sands, and have them come to you and talk to you more, so that they can explain specifically what it is about spiritual growth. And that's for everybody. If you want more information on them, you'll be able to set that intention and talk to them, build that trust, build that connection, so you can work with them more consistently. And then there was something else I was going to say and I lost it. Yeah, they're saying over again, like, point everybody to that meditation so they can work on that connection for themselves and that strengthening that connection. And that's part of it, giving you enough details to be like, there's one here, and then a way to actually connect with them. And that's just about setting that intention.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Rebecca, do you have a question?
Yeah, Amber's question kind of made me think of this. So you're saying that my dragon is connected to the forest and hers was the sand dweller. Could that just be where they're from or what their like element is? Or could that also have like a connection to something, you know, that matters to us, or, you know, maybe like a past life sort of thing, you know, the healing. I know that's like definitely part of why I'm here. So I was just curious if there's like a deeper message through like where they're from.
Yeah, absolutely. So the where they're from or the element that they are, that sort of thing, it can be past life related. The thing I didn't mention about the dragons in Utah, I had met them before. I went out there. I had past life remembrance. I remembered being there many lifetimes ago, that type of thing. And they had said to me at one point, we have, what did they say? We have met many times in many forms, in many lifetimes. So it was like even though one of them told me, go find my friends, I was actually finding friends that I already had who knew me. But because I'm in a different life, there's still trust to be built this life. So there can be past life connections. When they say of the sands, of the forest, that type of thing, it's usually related to, now they're telling me, well, that because of all the mini readings we've had, there's a variety of things going on. So it can be related to where they're from specifically, like on our earth plane, like finding them in the forest, which when I wrote, I know you have woods around you in the area. And I did feel like that one was out there somewhere that you go. And then they can be like, they can say of the forest, of the sands, and mean like of the elements of a different vibration. It's something that what I would say is just work with your dragons individually to find out specifically where they're from and what they need, because messaging too is also a thing of, some of it can be like metaphorical, like symbolic type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's telling me to get into the forest.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will.
You're welcome. Any other questions? No, everybody good? Okay. Well, what I will say is that this is being recorded. I will get this posted to the workshop website. I'll send that out to everybody via email. Did everybody write down the dragons? I can also send the list of them and what applies to everybody too, so that you can get it that way. There's going to be, there'll be an activation artwork, channeled messaging, a meditation. So the workshop doesn't stop here. There are tools for you to use throughout your journey, and they will, because you're signed up, they will always be there. So if you decide to do it a little bit this week and, maybe you wait a few months and come back to it, that's fine. It'll still be there. But what I do want to bring up is, if you ever have questions about dragons, just comment on those pages, send me an email, send me a DM, let me know. let me know if you send it to me outside of the workshop page, just let me know it's related to the workshop, because then what I'll do is I'll add it to the FAQ section of that workshop, because if one of you have a question, then chances are it'll come up for somebody else at some point, and everybody can see it as they go back and use it again. All right, last call. Any questions, comments? Lori, you want to go ahead?
Yes. How did you spell that? The name of the dragon?
I'll send it to you in an email, but I believe,
Okay.
Let me see here if I can find it. TIWADA.
ADA.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Cindy, do you want to go?
Yes, I have one question. So let's say if you have multiple dragons, do you have to, or like new dragons that come in, do you have to give them each individually an offering? So there's no fighting or anything?
That is a
Or-
very good question. When you're starting off and creating a specific dragon guide, and you're starting off with one or two, then having a separate offering is kind of good for building that connection and building that strength. Having a separate statue or offering space, because you can specifically give the intention to that individual dragon. Now, I mean, you can use the same altar space, and you can just set the intention of like, this berry is for this dragon, this one is for this dragon type of thing too. You can do it in that manner. But once you get to the like I have so many around me that it just becomes a thing where offerings are good for building trust and acknowledgement and friendship. But then it comes to a point where you don't have to build that trust anymore. Now, some beings will ask you to give them offerings consistently if they help you in a way and you know they're helping you. So if you're trying to heal and one of them comes and helps you with healing, then it's good to go out of your way to give an offering because they helped heal, and showing gratitude in that. Or if you're asking for their help, to give an offering to show gratitude. But if you have like 10 dragons around you, you don't have to offer to each individual one. You get to a point where you're offering to the ones you're building trust with, and occasionally making offerings to the others, and specifically doing it when they offer their energy for help or those types of things. My big red dragon right now is saying to tell you that once you build enough trust with dragons, they don't require the energy. It's more about getting into that space of acknowledgement so that they are respected, understood, appreciated, acknowledged, and loved. He's putting his like clawed hand up to his heart space and being like, and loved, in that they're not going to go unappreciated in the energetic transaction of a friendship or the work that they're doing with you. That's really what the offerings are about. Now, if you were working more with like fairies, those are ones that I'm like, put a general offering dish out, put it there, and when you see fairies, you're going to see like them fighting over it, and they're going to fight over it. It just is what it is.
Thank you for answering my
You're
question.
welcome. Any other questions?
I just want to say, well, thank you. Willows or dragons are like the mythical creature that make my heart light up. Like, I'm not super deep nerdy into them, but I was like giddy about this whole thing. So thank you for doing this. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, like I felt the energy quite strongly, obviously, like really in my heart space, getting stuck in my throat. So I had to like help it out. But maybe that's what this dragon's about for. But yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, and there are I don't know, they're very different each one that comes up. Each one has a different personality. They're just like humans. You never know what to expect when you encounter them. So working with them is really a special and exciting thing. And then I feel like mentioning this because it came up a few hours before this workshop too. If you've never seen Dragonheart, Dragonheart is a 90s movie with Dennis Quaid, I believe. It is a very good movie about having a friendship with a dragon. And of the size and nature that I see some of those dragons, it's probably on Netflix. Don't watch the second one. The second one is not the first one at all. That one's good. How to Train Your Dragon's a good one. And there's the, I liked Raya. Is it Raya and the Last Dragons or something on Disney? There's some sort of movie on Disney like that. Those are 3 good movies that you could watch. And that just popped in my head for some reason. So
the ice dragon that you commented on that's around me made me think of the ice dragon from Game of Thrones when he becomes an ice dragon.
Yeah.
Because of the Ice King. And I'm like, I don't know that he's not intimidating. We'll find out, but
no, just understand some of their energies are intimidating.
Yeah.
But it's like anything we meet, in a lot of the intimidation really is because of the strength of their energy vibration, but also the suspiciousness of humans. Some of them are especially those that are outside off the grid, are very suspicious of like, why are you trying to work with me type of thing. So don't let that intimidate you, but always come back to your heart space, what they're asking for, to make sure that it's all benevolent and loving and that sort of thing. Were you good, Bree?
Yep, I'm good. Thanks.
You're welcome. Abby, how about you?
I just wanted to add, you were going over a little list of dragon movies, dragon companion movies, and that made me think of one that I grew up watching. It's a 1977 film called Pete's Dragon, and they did a remake. They did a remake in the early 2010s. I don't know, like 2015, 2016. I don't know if you know about that one too, but I was like, oh my God, Pete's Dragon. Yeah. Just getting the memories, you know?
Yeah, in Pete's Dragon, now I haven't seen the 70s version, or no, I have, but it was when I was a kid. I don't remember it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I have. Mm-hmm. But the 2010 version was pretty good. I don't know how good it was compared to the first one. Usually the original is the best. But I believe that's with Robert Redford in it too. And those movies, if you go back and you just want something to enjoy, most of those, other than Dragonheart, the other ones are pretty good for kids and stuff. I know some of you that I've worked with have kids. Those movies are good, like activating seed planting energies. And there was an emphasis on, in the channeled message that they talk about, on the artwork. When you see the artwork, it looks like a little kid drew it. They told me before I drew the art, they're like, this isn't going to look like the detail that you do of normal dragons and share. It's going to look like a childlike drawing. And I went, really? And they're like, yeah. And then I drew it. And I was like, no, it's not going to come out. No, it looks like a little kid drew it. But part of that is purposeful because I believe some of you have children around you that are potentially going to be able to activate themselves through those drawings and the movies and all that type of stuff. So keep that in mind with movies too. Movies contain a lot of positive seeds. They do have, their negative aspects too, but some of them are built around the idea that dragons are real. And it's one of those things that people can write children's stories about dragons. And now times are changing now, but it used to be like, if I did this 10 years ago, and I had thought about this at one time, I was like, if I were to write this type of stuff, I would have to write it as children's books that are fantasy. Even though it's true, it would be classified as fantasy, like Spiderwick Chronicles and some of Brian Froud's work, these different books of truth, of experiences and stories based on experiences, but they have to be labeled that because adults don't believe it. So children's movies are generally a treasure trove of seeded knowledge type of thing. Any other questions? Okay, last call. All right, well, thank you everybody for supporting me. Thank you, Abby, for jumping in at the last minute. That's awesome. Everybody for just, this was my best workshop yet. I'm looking forward to having more, and because of you, I was able to expand on the idea of what I'm doing with the workshops, with adding the meditations, the artwork, these different things to help activate people, because the whole goal of this stuff is to activate you and allow you to experience other realms. So just thank you, everybody. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I'll get this posted. It'll probably be tomorrow that you get the email with everything. And then, you know, keep an eye out on my Instagram too, because I'll just post a message on Instagram that, hey, it's up, check your email. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime, Instagram, email, the workshop website, that sort of thing. But all right, last call for questions. If there's nothing, I'm gonna head out. All good? All right, talk to you all later. Have a good night.